Hey, this is a video about the OpenIPC open source FPV system. I made a video about this a while ago. I haven't really done it in a while, and there's some new stuff to talk about. So I figured I'd make another video. Right off the bat, I just want to address the stuff going on in my OSD. This plane does not have a working GPS. It crapped out on me. Also, you'll see the pack sagging a lot. This is a 5,000 milliamp hour lithium ion pack that I usually run in parallel with another one on another plane, so it's not really meant for high discharge. The video is going nuts right now. I'll show you why that's happening in a bit. This is not like an ideal setup. I kind of did that on purpose so you can kind of see some of the pros and cons about what I'm about to tell you. So what I'm going to talk about is this weird OSD element in my top left. That's part of the adaptive link. So basically, OpenIPC now has DJI/Walkstale style two-way communication to change the bit rate according to the RSSI and the signal to noise ratio, SNR. So you'll see that changing a bunch as the flight goes on, and I'll tell you a little more about what all those numbers mean in a second. Some of them are interesting. Some of them are just probably not going to be relevant to the average user. The OSD doesn't always look like that. I've specifically set it to look like that because I kind of need to look at the information on it for setup purposes, which you'll see in a second why I want to be doing that. All right, so this is the GitHub for the adaptive link. This guy, Greg, makes it. Pretty cool guy. I think he's Australian because one of his videos, there were some kangaroos running through his yard. He gives a really good explanation about how to set this up and how it works, which you'll see that there's a lot of Linux going on here. OpenIPC can be used without a ton of Linux knowledge now, but this in particular, if you want to use the adaptive link with the two-way communication, you still kind of need to know some Linux. I don't think this will always be the case. This particular feature is very much in its alpha stage still. So just keep that in mind if you want to try it. Yep, it's on GitHub. He shows you how to work it. Okay, so this is the setup table. This is a text file that I have to alter on my VTX in order to get this to work. So there's all these numbers here. So these ranges on the left, that's like a signal quality factor that's calculated using RSSI and SNR. And basically, depending on how good the signal is, it will do all the things to the right. You'll see a couple things. So that 4-digit number over kind of like halfway over right here. I'm going to fix this one. There's a little error in my table. This is the bit rate. All right. So each one of these is options about what bit rate it would be on. And that range over to the left tells you at what signal quality it would do that bit rate. This over here is another interesting thing. Right next to where it says long and short, that's the MCS index. That's basically kind of like a modulation scheme. It stands for modulation coding scheme. It's basically how big the pipe the data goes into. And there are some trade-offs with like range and how much bit rate fits through that. So this is a bunch of nerdy blah, 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 but you kind of need to know what that is to set this up. There are pre-made files for it. We're back at the DVR now, but they kind of still need to be tweaked. So that's why I'm at this field flying today. And that's kind of why you saw some glitching right here. Yep, that froze and stuttered for a bit. That's because it switched profiles. And one of my profiles, like one of the different levels it can set to, isn't set up right. It's basically got too much bit rate going through a low MCS index. It's basically trying to shove like high pressure water through a tiny hose, and it's not all making it through. Right, so that's something I'm going to change in mind. You'll see right up here in the kind of in the top left, you'll see where it says like 1.8 megabytes, 2.1 right there. That basically means is that's my bit rate. Okay, at some point you'll see this flash red. I'm flying really close to myself right now, so you're not going to see it. When it flashes red, that's the fail-safe mode. That's basically it's really, really low. It's in its lowest mode. But the fail-safe mode is set to be really, really low bit rate. So you can basically almost always have some sort of video. It's kind of a cool feature. DJI and Walkstale don't do this. It's literally like half a megabyte of bit rate. But it's still flyable. It almost looks like analog, and it's kind of nice if you're really far away. It kind of keeps me from like having glitchy video and hitting trees and stuff like that. You'll see it happen in a little bit. Right now I'm just flying this plane around. This is an Atom RC Penguin. kind of just getting it into some places in this field where I think it'll challenge the system a little bit so I can kind of see what can happen. There's not a lot of noticeable latency, but I'm not really doing anything that would require that. So far looks pretty good. So you'll notice that the bit rates are pretty low. Like this is like 2.4 megabytes of bit rate. If you're someone that flies Walk Snail or DJI, you're probably going to be like, wait a second, that looks a lot better than, like right now it's at 6. That looks better than 6 megabytes of bit rate on one of those other systems. And there's a reason for that. When Walk Snail and DJI report bit rate, I'll fly upside down for a bit, they report it as the total link, so it's uplink and downlink. OpenIPC only reports receiving bitrate. All right, I'm not sure why they do that. I'm not sure why they didn't just do what DJI and Walk Snail do, so you can kind of compare them. So basically, like if this is saying 4 megabytes of bitrate, that's kind of like what 8 megabytes of bitrate would look like on DJI or Walk Snail. All right, here we go. It's glitching again. That's because it's going into that profile, which I think is the 4 megabyte profile. I think that profile doesn't work right. I think the MCS index is too low, which basically means that the modulation is not set up for that much bit rate. And I can actually go into that text file I showed you before, and I can change that. So the long and short of it is this works really well, but you have to set it up right. Oh, see how it went red right there? That means that it's in its fail-safe mode. I think I looked down at my feet or something like that, and I wasn't aimed at the plane. So in the description, Greg says garbage in, garbage out. So basically, this works well, but you have to set it up correctly. There are presets for every VTX, but some of them still need to be tweaked. Like this is a RunCam Wi-Fi link. And I think I have it set up pretty well, but there's still that one profile, the 4 megabyte profile, that doesn't really work, right? I have to mess with that a little bit. So this works, but you have to tweak it. So if you're not prepared to tweak the profile and like go in like that and mess with it, this might not be for you yet, but this is on the horizon and it does work. Just keep in mind that there are some caveats. The setup is not great. You'll have probably things that don't work and you have to go in and mess with it. So kind of like think about that if you're using OpenIPC and you're not sure if you want to try this out. Maybe it's for you, maybe it isn't. It was a steep learning curve for me. This is actually my second successful flight with this, and I've been messing with this for a couple weeks now. Part of that's been the weather has been terrible, but I'm really happy with it, but it did take me a while to get here. I think at some point it'll be a little more plug and play like the rest of the system is becoming, but this feature is still very much like the whole thing is kind of in its alpha stages, but this feature in particular is very in its alpha stage. You'll probably never see bit rates as good as DJI or Walk Snail on this particular hardware. This is a RunCam Wi-Fi Link version 1, and it's not capable of 40 megahertz channels. So if you're a DJI user, this will be familiar. You can set it to have like the wide channels and the skinny channels, and like if you're flying with friends, you want to be on the less wide channels, like I think it's like 20 megahertz on DJI, 25 megahertz or 50 megahertz on DJI. OpenIPC has that too. It's either 20 or 40. The 40 megahertz channels, messing up my megahertz and megabytes here. The 40 megahertz channels are better for higher bit rates. The hardware of this RunCam Wi-Fi link doesn't go to the 40, so you're kind of limited to like 15 megabits of bit rate, and that's kind of look like, I'd say it's probably going to look like 25 on Walk Snail or DJI. This is limited to that. Other hardware isn't, like the new RunCam VTX is not limited to that. But that's kind of one of the reasons why you have to do that setup table that I showed you in the beginning, because not every hardware piece can do every single thing that OpenIPC is capable of. That's generally going to be one of the limitations. It's kind of one of the gotchas of OpenIPC, is that there's so much diverse hardware that you really need to make sure that everything kind of works for your setup. So essentially, this is getting better pretty much by the day. This is just kind of like the latest new thing. It's not even that new. This has been around since kind of late 2024, but I just haven't really had the time to play around with it. I think you'll keep seeing more and more cool OpenIPC stuff come out. It really is pretty great. Even though I don't think this is going to match the video quality and ease of use of something like DJI, it is a fraction of the price. I think the cheapest pre-made VTX for this right now is only $50, which is about the third of the price of a DJI Air unit. And yeah, it's annoying to set up still, and the video quality is not as good. But for some people, the trade-off might be worth it, that you can have this for a third of the price. It's still really good. And tinkering with this is also kind of appealing to some people. It's appealing to me. I thought this was really fun to get this to work right and tweak it. Kind of like the kind of person that would rather use Linux instead of a PC or a Mac. This is for a specific user. For all I know, this could become the next thing like ExpressLRS did. Like that used to be something that you had to spend a lot of time configuring, and you had to build the hardware and that stuff. And now it's the default, right? That could happen to OpenIPC. I'm not really sure. But for now, yeah, if you're willing to put in the work to set this up, it works really, really well. And this is just one more feature that's making it even better. At some point, this feature will be a little more plug and play than it is now. And at the rate of development, I think that will probably be pretty soon. All right, I'm going to go and crash my plane into a pole, because that is what I did right about here. And I will see you all next time.